And joining us now is Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff of California. He's chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Chairman Schiff, as a former prosecutor yourself, you know that we don't know what we need to know until we can read those indictments. We now know that we'll be reading them sometime after 2 p.m. tomorrow. What will you be looking for in these indictments?
Well, I'll certainly be looking for what kind of evidence is indicated in the indictments, how specific they are. But look, I think this is not uncommon at all. It may be a very narrow indictment. It may be just the opening salvo in terms of the prosecution. It's not uncommon to start out with a certain baseline charge, and then you build the case more and you go back with a superseding indictment. But the particular charges against the CFO will be significant. What kind of exposure does he have? Because that will determine how much incentive he has to cooperate. And from what employees of Trump Organization say, he was a very detailed person, just like Donald Trump. And in order to make a case, if there's going to be a case ultimately made against the former president, you're going to need someone who was close to the former president, had intimate conversations with them, knows where the bodies are buried, knows how the records are kept, knows where the documentation is. That certainly sounds like Mr. Weisselberg. So I'll be particularly interested in the quality of the evidence and the nature of the charges against him.
I want to read for you and the audience some new reporting from the New York Times about this tonight, saying, over the last few months, Alan Weisselberg has continued to show up at Trump Tower, at times coming face-to-face with Mr. Trump. But now the Trump Organization's lawyers have taken steps to avoid the appearance of any impropriety. In the past, many of Mr. Trump and Mr. Weisselberg's conversations were private and behind closed doors. Now they are under instructions to meet in the presence of a witness. Chairman Schiff, that clearly indicates that if they are actually complying with that, that both Donald Trump and Alan Weisselberg recognize how much trouble they're in.
Well, it certainly means that Donald Trump's lawyers recognize that he could put himself in further jeopardy by saying things to Weisselberg, by potentially encouraging to hide things from authorities or make false statements to authorities. We know from the Mueller investigation that's not unusual conduct for this former president. And so the president's lawyers are trying to protect him. Alan Weisselberg may not be cooperating now. That doesn't mean he won't cooperate in the future. So I think that's what's going on. But look, the president has ignored the advice of his lawyers in the past, and who knows whether he'll follow that advice now.
Do you, as a former prosecutor and someone who has spent considerable time investigating Donald Trump in the first impeachment investigation, does this feel like an inevitable turn of events for someone who has behaved the way you have seen him behave up close in the presidency?
Yes. I mean, this is a grifter from start to finish. He brought his swamp from New York with him to the Oval Office. And this is a guy who used his charitable foundation as a personal and political slush fund. Can we really be surprised that that same organization, albeit the business end, not the foundation, would now be the subject of indictment? But at the same time, while I thought an indictment of the corporation was likely, I still think it's a steep hill to climb to indict the former president. The quality and quantity of the evidence will have to be very significant. It's relatively easy to make a case against a corporation, but to be able to follow that criminal liability to the very top, you need people inside cooperating. That's, again, why Weisselberg is so important. But everything about Donald Trump's life, everything about his everyday in office spells corruption. So none of this is surprising. It's just the same kind of grift in private practice that he imported to the White House.
Chairman Adam Schiff, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.